all for joining us. As people start coming in, I wanted to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Courtney Pomeran. I am the Member Engagement Specialist with NSCS, and we are so excited to have you all here. Before we go ahead and get started with the presentation for this month's ScholarCAST HerStory, sponsored by GEICO, we want to go over some housekeeping notes for you. Underneath the handouts box, you will have two handouts that are available to you. One of the handouts is the important links that GEICO have provided to start communications that you want to reach out to throughout the presentation. They'll probably speak about those, as well as NSCS plus GEICO scholarship opportunities for you all. If you have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and use the questions box to ask those questions. We are recording this presentation. It will take anywhere between 24 to 48 hours to have the recording sent to you. If you have any follow-up questions after the presentation, please feel free to email the NSCS Member Success Team at nscs@nscs.org. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Katie. Katie, will you go ahead and take it away?
Hi, thank you so much. You can hear me good? Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Michelle. So thank you to NSCS so much for having us today. Thank you to everyone who's joining us from both NSCS and our GEICO associates as well. Before we begin our panel discussion with the amazing leaders that you have in front of you today, I wanted to provide everyone an overview of the two centers of excellence that have partnered together for this panel today in honor of Women's History Month. So one within our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Center at GEICO is our Community Investments team. They lead the amazing work that we do within the community and partner directly with our employee resource groups to support the body of community engagement initiatives that we execute as well. We're proud to partner together and support NSCS, and to learn more about what we do, you can visit geico.com. We have a diversity and inclusion page, and then we also have our GEICO in the community page. So feel free to visit both of those as resources to get a little bit more information about what we do and how we support our communities. During our session today, our team will also drop a link to those pages for you. In terms of takeaways, we want you to feel inspired and motivated from this session. Our aim is for our wonderful female leaders at GEICO to tell their story, how they developed to become the leaders that they are today, and how they also stayed true to their own authenticity during their journey. So really quick, just about me, Katie Hasley. I am a supervisor within our property insurance department, and I am also the countrywide co-chair for GEICO Grow, which stands for GEICO Reaching Out to Women. So as your moderator today, just wanted you to know a hair bit about me. I will toss it to Michelle. If you don't mind starting us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, welcome everybody. My name is Michelle Trindade. I'm out in Tucson, Arizona, and I've been out here for just about 5 years now, and I call it the beautiful Sonoran Desert, and we have the coolest saguaro cactus, more wildlife probably than any of you have ever seen, at least for me that was the case. But prior to my time here in Tucson, I was in the DC and Maryland and Virginia area. They call it the DMV for about 10 years, and prior to that I was in Florida for 10 years, all of that time with GEICO. It'll be 26 years serving this great company in the next couple of weeks, and my first day was in 1997, and I started as a sales agent selling insurance over the phone. I was 20 years old, turned 21 in training, and knew nothing about insurance. So you talk about an interesting start to how it's developed. My current role is Senior Vice President of Agency Operations. That just means I lead GEICO's distribution strategies, ensuring really that all agents are well equipped with tools to help serve GEICO customers and sell GEICO policies. So what I want to make sure you all know today, if there's any part of my journey in sharing that helps you, I just want you to know that truly there's nothing that's impossible for you. So with that, there's a couple fun facts. I'm happy to share one. I am a mom. I'm also now a grandma. I have an amazing, beautiful little 16-month-old angel. Favorite job in the world. But I'd also say I'm a unique individual. I do math for fun. It's a really strange hobby, but I grew up with a love of math. I did competitions with like buzzers and economics competitions, and that later evolved into some things like science fairs and social science fairs just for fun, and a passion for experimenting, challenging norms and conventional thoughts, and understanding more about why. So with that, it gives you a little insight into my quirky personality, and I'm excited to share more today.
I love that. Thank you, Michelle. It's very inspiring to hear you started literally entry level and you've risen so far through the ranks. So thank you. Andrea, how about you? Do you mind introducing yourself?
No, of course not. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Rivera. I had a similar start to Michelle. I was hired in as a service agent, so servicing policies in our Lakeland, Florida office. I am currently our manager of the retirement team in corporate HR, and I'm in the DMV, the DC, Maryland area that Michelle also referenced. Specifically, our corporate office is in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and that's where I am. No idea why the sun is betraying me today, and you can't see the beautiful background behind me, so sorry about that. Hopefully it clears up. I've been with GEICO, as I said, for 11 years. And my corporate HR retirement team, we're a team of 10, and together we oversee our company's 401k plan, our pension plan. Full disclosure for anyone considering working at GEICO, it is softly frozen though, and also our non-qualified plans, deferred compensation, and our other non-qualified 401k plans. So we manage those together, and I think what I would hope for you to gain from today is, I guess, the sign you're looking for maybe to keep going, confirmation that you can do it. The road isn't easy for any of us, as we will discuss today, but again, hopefully confirmation to keep going. A fun fact about me is I hate fun facts. I don't know why I feel like there's nothing fun about me, and I really struggle. But one of my associates on my team today reminded me that I do have this goal. I really enjoy Jose Andres, who's a Spanish chef based out of DC. And I, a few years ago, decided I was going to go to all of his restaurants in the country, and I have, except for one, because it just opened in DC here in the old post office building. But I was able to secure a reservation for next month for my birthday. So as of next month, I will once again be able to say I've been to all of them. So I don't know if that's a fun fact or not, but that's my try. So thank you.
I think that's pretty fun. That's pretty amazing. Don't worry about the background. I just realized I have a sick child at home and she left her pillow and blanket when I asked her to leave the background. So that's real life, right? Awesome. And then Allison, last but not least.
Good afternoon. My name is Allison Johnson. I also, like Michelle, live in Tucson. I've been here for about 18 months. Before our move to Arizona, I was in our Lakeland, Florida office for about 2 years. And then most of my career, or really all of my career, was then before that in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But before GEICO, I'd lived in quite a few places: Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Texas. I have to say, though, the sun in Tucson, Arizona, and our weather and the mountain views, I don't think I could ever love somewhere more than love living in Arizona. My job title is I'm a physical damage director. My team specializes in total losses across the country. So if you were in an accident and you're either GEICO insured, or you were in an accident with a GEICO insured and your vehicle is deemed a total loss, then very likely my team would be the ones helping you. So we're a remote team all throughout the country. I've been in this role now for just a couple months. Before that, I was the auto damage director of Region 10, and that covered the 7 states out west, and now more recently taking on this total loss role. I've been with GEICO for 12 years, and I've held multiple positions within the company. I'm pretty excited to be here with you today, and if there was one thing that I wanted to leave you with, I think it's that every day is a new day. and you're the person that gets to decide how that day is going to go. So are you going to work hard today? Are you going to be compassionate? Are you going to help someone? And if so, it's your day. Every morning we get to make that decision. And I'd say that's something that I wake up every day and remember that I'm in control of my attitude. And there's not much else that we can be in control of some days, but that's the one thing that I can do every day. Fun fact, I too struggled with this one, so I decided to go with my traditional fun fact. I have 4 boys. They range in age from 5 to 15. So we have a preschooler, an elementary schooler, a middle schooler, and a high schooler. So I don't know if that's as much fun as it is my chaotic and very busy fact for you today.
I love that. I think it's pretty fun too. I'm sure that they have fun, and you have fun being a boy mom too. So no worries. Okay, well, I think we can jump in. So we prepared some questions for you ladies to share your thoughts with our viewers today. This one will be for each of you. I'll just kind of go in the same order. It seemed to flow well. So do you all have any tips or insights on remaining authentic throughout one's career journey? Michelle, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, that's the best question of all, and I'll be as transparent as I can be to help someone. It took me way too long to learn this, so I'm sharing one of my biggest reflection points in my own journey is to know who you are. And when I mean that, I mean who you are, your identity, the gifts and talents that are just unique to you, how all of that together brings purpose in your life and what brings you personally a sense of purpose. And when I say identity, it's so important that you understand you are not your job title. You are not defined by whatever your career of choice is right now. You're not defined by your company, your school. You are this person, this human always, and your current company or school or family or friends or whatever community that you're serving gets the benefit of you. And be the you that's authentically you in any space you operate in. Don't feel like you have to adapt. And that's a lesson it took me quite some time to figure out, but boy, it's freeing when you get there. How you engage with those around you or how you show up for the communities that you're a part of is as important as anything in terms of who you are. And with those unique gifts and talents that only you have, you can build them over time. And I like to tell people these become your superpowers or your key strengths, and you may be different from the person sitting next to you, and that's awesome. Imagine if we all tried to be copies of each other. That's really yucky. So I'm a fan of bringing your best, but really at the same time, at least for me, part of being authentic is the willingness to just reflect and saying, am I not bringing a part of who I am into this situation or that? And if not, asking myself why and what's hindering me, what's getting in my way. And, vulnerability can be really, really hard, but it's very powerful and it's intentional work. And, one other lesson is just get comfortable that something is just not your superpower and be okay owning that and then laughing at yourself too. There's a lot of humor in what you're not great at, and there's a lot of power there. And, I talked a little also about purpose with this, and I think through some important work, and I know that no matter what, I'm motivated personally to help others that I encounter reach their full potential and just go further than they ever thought was possible, whether it's an individual, a friend, maybe a new strategy, a process, a system, a nonprofit I'm serving on my free time, all those things, I know that's my purpose. So I've been lucky to have great mentors and peers in and outside of work in my church that showed me what it takes to build and motivate communities around a shared goal. And the kinds of things that help with that is being empathetic, being present, being driven to serve others. Those are just personal tenets that have allowed me to be who I am and understand those superpowers. And I get to use them to help those around me grow and elevate themselves. That's probably the most rewarding part of my job, is helping the authenticity of others come out.
Yeah, I love that advice. I think especially for women, sometimes it can be really hard for us to show up authentically. So I love that. Drea, how about you? What are your thoughts?
For me, authenticity is similar to some of the things Michelle said, being true to yourself, and also being very intentional. What that can look like as a leader is making sure that I spend time with my associates. And not only am I doing that, but I'm listening to them and listening to understand, not to respond, which is a habit that all of us, are guilty of at one time or another. But being present and allowing authentic relationships to form that way, because that's how people learn to trust you and open up and are vulnerable with you in return. For me, another big part of being authentic has been learning the lesson. I think at some point, many points when I was younger, I just wanted to be understood, and I wanted people to understand where I was coming from, especially when I was leading a team of maybe personalities that weren't exactly similar to mine. And then as I, grew as a leader, I realized that the goal for authenticity and the goal for me is really to make sure that I can get to a place to understand others better. It's not necessarily for people to understand me, but for me to understand others. For those who report to me, why they're working at GEICO, why they're, coming to work every day, what motivates them. And once I, started looking at things that way, I really felt that that's when my most authentic self was able to be shown to my associates and to my coworkers, and that's just something that I try to really hold on to every single day, just making sure that no matter how busy I get, that I'm intentional and that people get to see, my authentic self. So that's my response to that one.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love the intentionality. That's really at the heart of diversity, right? Is making sure that we're going out and proactively grasping other people's perspectives and opinions. So I love that. Allison, what do you think about that?
I'd say, like Michelle, it took me a long time to be comfortable, not just in my abilities, but who I am as a leader and what I wanted to be as a leader. I had to really learn what my strengths were and understand myself, but more importantly, what were my weaknesses and what did I have to do to overcome those? I'd say that one thing throughout my career that I felt like remained unchanged was my work ethic, but I'll say everything else has been a journey. And I've had failures along the way. Early in my career, I can remember back thinking there was no way to be honest and compassionate and emotional and also be a driver of results. I didn't think those two things could go together. And so I tried to be somebody that I wasn't, somebody that other people wanted me to be. But I think just slowly over time, working with amazing people that would give me strength in my abilities and help me highlight what those weaknesses were. And maybe they weren't even a weakness. And I'd say that some of those I've been able to harness, like Michelle said, as a superpower. And I think I was scared too that those two different people, that who I was personally and who I was professionally, couldn't be one person. I had to be one and then the other. But being able to bring them into one person, and that just developed over time. And so I feel like now I am who I am personally, I am who I am professionally, and it's that same person. And I don't shy away from either one of them. And I don't feel the need any longer to apologize for who I am.
I love that so much. Thank you. Thank you all three for your thoughts.
Hey,
Michelle,
Katie, if I can add just one item into that capstone. I loved hearing what Drea and Allison said. One of the things as we were talking ahead that I'd shared for Valentine's Day, my husband, he calls me a unicorn because I'm unique. And if you know me, you know I'm sparkly and I am a bit of a unique unicorn. And he actually gave me a life-size unicorn balloon, and it still has not deflated. It's been over a month. And let's see if I can do this. And it literally is in my living room, designed to remind me of those unique things. So this is work I do every day. Like, let's be transparent. This is work I'm doing this morning. This is work when I go home tonight I have to do. There's never an arrival period. Just embrace who you are, to Allison's point, and all that you bring to the table, and let it show, let it shine.
I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love that picture too. Thanks for sharing that with everyone.
Random, but it's real.
No, that's okay. It actually transitions well too. My next question was going to be for you anyhow. So I just wanted to ask, having been with GEICO for more than 25 years, I think you said almost 26 now, what advice would you have on how to best navigate through change and remaining motivated through that? Everybody knows change is really hard, right? So what would you say to that?
Yeah, and the pace of change today is also faster than it's ever been. There's technology disruptions, there's reorganizations, there are industry and consumer trends that are all changing daily. They're all disrupting all the prior ways that we're all used to doing things. And this has affected all of us today. And certainly it affects our work in the insurance space and here at GEICO. And I think someone said earlier, the first thing involves your own mindset. And if there's really a gift in understanding change, it's understanding yourself first, and realize that you cannot control whether change is going to occur or not. It just will. So find the ways, my best advice, find the ways to embrace the changes and pause to frame your internal narrative of the change. And don't look for biased narratives that are going to take you spinning down a negative path, right? Look for those confirmation things of how do I make more of this change? And it's okay that change is scary. Some love it, but most don't. It's okay to feel and process things, and don't just ignore those things. Acknowledge it. Wow, this is hard. This is new. If you need to, if you process by writing things down or journaling, do it. What makes you worry, write it down, and then actively change what you do in response to it and what you say about a situation to yourself, but also to others. Don't spiral in that change and negativity. And, you know, change is important. You know, if you think about a stagnant river, if you ever look at a body of water that's just sitting idle, it's no good. It needs a steady flow of water to keep things moving, to keep things alive, to grow, to sustain healthy life. A fruit tree, you know, things die on the vine. It just, you have to prune trees, right? So it's just how things work, as painful as it can feel going through it. And, you know, just think about real examples of how you used to get directions from people, or how you looked at directions. Maybe some of you are like me in age, and, you know, you actually looked at a map and you had to ask for landmarks and where to turn, versus how do you get places today and how simple it is to just plug in an address and it takes you there, right? So think about how you communicate with close friends and family. I remember I worked at Disney for a little while at Epcot in Orlando in college, and I remember there was like a dream of this Epcot, the ball at the front of the park, where at the end of it there was a screen where you could see someone's face and call them across the globe from anywhere, and it was considered a dream, you know, in 1994, 1995. And now my granddaughter, literally 16 months old, can hit my face on her mother's phone and FaceTime me on demand. And so that changed the way things happen and the way we communicate. So, and then with work, you know, I started quoting insurance over the phone, and then the internet became a thing, and everything's evolved and changed. Think about how Amazon has changed our expectations of when we get things, and how easy it is to just click a button and have something show up at your door. So, you know, then the question is not will change happen, it's how do you respond internally to it? And then how do you also tackle and keep up with change that's coming your way? And it may seem like macro or external changes, but all the things that are going on around us can quickly become relevant to whatever your profession is, whatever your company is, whatever your school is. And I'm a big fan of being a lifelong learner. And a lifelong learner means you've got some entrepreneurial mindset. You're always aspiring to continue improving yourself and your own skill sets. And some of that probably takes planning ahead on your development and your personal learning, where you decide to lean in professionally into that change. And my entire career at GEICO, even though it's all been here, I get to think through the journeys I've had, and the way I approach my work is just very not one-sided. It's not insular. I've returned to education to get advanced degrees, learning new concepts, design thinking, bringing the best part of what I've found in that journey back to work at GEICO and leaders that I get the chance to serve, so we can stay, you know, cutting edge in some things. So that's another action item you can do. And then always look for a new challenge and set new goals. You know, if you don't write it down or you don't set yourself, you don't have something to go to. So go beyond professional life, maybe try a new activity you've never tried, get outside of your comfort zone and start to change your inner monologue about change, because muscles that aren't used atrophy and get weak. And things can change quickly the other way too. If you start working out, you just want to start somewhere. And as you learn new things and embrace those waves of change that we all know are all around all of us, you may also need to reinvent yourself. And I think I've reinvented myself regularly through my time at GEICO. This means I'm still authentically me, and I can adapt within whatever changing environment around me, but I can do it in an intentional way and stay authentic to who I am.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was so much good. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There was so many good action items. I was like, oh, I want to address that, but I feel like I just reiterate your whole thing. I will say I love the river picture. I've never heard it stated like that. That's incredible. And to your point about like changing technology and reinventing yourself, you may need new skills to move forward with, you know, whatever industry you're in, given the new technology in that industry. So such good takeaways. Thank you. Moving on just to a new kind of thread, Allison, if you don't mind kicking us off, I'd love to know who inspires you, and then what about them inspires you that would make you want to follow their example.
So I thought long and hard about this, and I have been surrounded and inspired by so many strong women within GEICO, and it doesn't take too much to look to find a really strong woman. And I'd say that I've been fortunate enough to work with Nancy Pierce and Angela Ranella, two women that I would call mentors throughout my career. But I felt like I had to share that Michelle is certainly an inspiration to me. And I say that because you get the opportunity to see her on this panel today, but I worked with Michelle many different roles throughout my career. When I first started, she was a part of my hiring process into sales. And I think back to that person, like we just kind of answered in that first question. And she saw something in me that I don't think I saw in myself. And even more recently, she hired me into an auto damage director role in Region 10 when she was our regional vice president just a couple years ago. And I'll say, Michelle, it isn't your career that's my inspiration. It's what you've done personally, and you've melded that with your career all in one. And it's an inspiration, not just to me, but to many other women when you share your journey. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm melting now.
No, Andrea, what about you?
I will add, well, I'll answer the question, but first I want to say I was thinking today, similar to Allison's answer, that this is the first time that I've really interacted with Michelle. I haven't yet had the opportunity to work with you yet, but I was remembering today about 10 years ago, you came to Lakeland to train a class, and I was an SPP, sort of like an intern, I guess, a management intern, for those who aren't at GEICO. And I just thought it was the coolest thing because you were the first female VP that I ever interacted with. And I was thinking about that today, so just adding that before my answer. And I also thought long and hard. I have a very long list. But actually the answer to me, what's been most, I guess, recent was my team actually has been the biggest inspiration to me lately. Last year was tough, I think, on everyone. But my team specifically, I unfortunately, for the first time and hopefully never again, I lost an associate on my team in a car accident. And it also at the same exact time that it was the busiest time in the history of the team. Interest rate changes from the IRS gave us unprecedented volume of retirements, as I'm sure every other company experienced. But it all happened at the same time, and I found myself struggling a lot to come in and face my team and to really be a leader and to be cheerful. And there are lots of times that I started to feel sorry for myself and, of course, also had personal things going on. And my team came every single day. And during that time, we were working late nights and weekends and really trying to get the job done. And of course, with the loss of our teammate, we had someone's job that wasn't getting done, and they picked up the slack before I even had a chance to ask. And they really came every single day with the best attitude and supported each other and supported me. And that really inspired me to just snap out of it. Any moment that I felt like I couldn't, go on, I didn't know what I was doing, imposter syndrome that I'm sure we all experience from time to time, just they didn't give me the opportunity to let up. And I had to show up every single day and be stronger than I ever thought I could be. I hope no leader has to experience that because honestly, there's no training in the world to prepare you, but we got through it. And as I said, my team has to be my answer for me for that one. And of course, my boss as well, Dina Pond, who I report to, who's just amazing. And I can't thank her enough, but the team as a whole has really been my inspiration as of late.
Wow, I love that. I didn't know that, so I'm very sorry to hear that. It takes me back to the old adage that iron sharpens iron, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are just working together as one unit, that's how we all get better. So I love that. Michelle, did you have anything that inspired you wanted to add?
Well, I'm humbled by just hearing the stories with Allison and Drea, and I tons of people at GEICO, and it's not just people above me. There are people like Allison and others who I'm so inspired by, and they've made huge impacts in my journey. And to all of those that are online, I just want to say thank you. There are many of you, and you know who you are. Separately, I just say my mom. This sounds maybe cliche, but it's not. My mom has weathered so many difficult seasons in life, and she's done it with grace and faith that is what I call unwavering. She modeled for me personally that a strong woman, you can be a strong woman, you can overcome a lot. She stared down death. She's a cancer survivor against any odds that were shared with her. Life was not easy. She became a mom very young at 16, and I watched her go back to school to finish her degree while working, giving so much to us and her family. And I remember she graduated with a 4-year business degree. I was old enough to recognize that journey and get to see it with her. She took a management intern job as a woman in her 30s in a lumber yard. It was called Scotty's at the time. Those of you in Lakeland know this. And she would work overnight shifts just to prove herself and learn. She weighed maybe 115 pounds, and they would put her through the ringer. She had to load and unload all the trucks and do every job that's done at a lumber yard. She never complained. She took it as experience, and everything she would tell me what it taught her, and then she would apply those learnings in everything she did. And, you know, then she managed a jewelry store. So she got out of lumber eventually, managed a jewelry store. And I remember she was practicing her sales training skills on me at home. I think I was like 7 or 8. I was a little girl. She'd go to the jewelry store, sell watches. I'd go door to door and sell Girl Scout cookies because I wanted to be like my mom. And eventually, because of her gifts to me, I think there was a growth mindset in her. She applied all those skills, and she actually ended up at GEICO. She was with us for over 15 years, later referring to me at GEICO, and that's how I ended up with GEICO. And I think my mom's personal and her professional journey and trajectory really instilled in me the importance of being a lifelong learner, and you can kind of see why, what I talked about earlier. She's really the perfect example of how to actively embrace change, learn something meaningful from every experience that you have, and just, you know, throughout life, I'd say the last tenet was, you know, I got to watch her have a desire to serve others, and it shaped my approach in everything I do. I just don't know that I always appreciated it like I do today, and that's being intentional to serve others. So, and just examples, she keeps sets of bags in her car for those she encounters who are without a home and they're in need of support, fresh socks, you know, snacks, waters, coupons or gift certificates for food. She's modeled for me never walking by a need that she has the opportunity to meet, to help with, and she just really embodies a service mindset, and that's empowered how I see people and everything I do today. So it's got to be my mama.
That's awesome. I don't think that was cliche at all. Thank you for sharing that, you know, bit of your personal life with us too. We really appreciate that. So Andrea, my next question is actually for you. Given your experience in HR training, you were talking a little bit about your role. Why do you think self-development is important, and how does it impact or influence career growth?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I think I left that out of my introduction. So prior to being a retirement manager, for anyone who's confused, I was a corporate HR training and development manager, and I was on that team for about 6 years. So training and development or self-development rather, and career growth is just invaluable. You've heard everyone else on this call, my fellow panelists, refer to their education, and definitely Michelle. I'm the opposite of Michelle when it comes to math, by the way, unless I have to. But so, you know, development in your career is just truly invaluable, not just for the obvious, you know, learning something new and, you know, adding degrees and different, you know, letters behind your signature, but just for the basic idea of it's a form of self-care, and it's a form of, you know, building your confidence. And not only are you learning new things and perhaps figuring out a different path and you know, reinventing yourself, as Michelle said, based on your knowledge, but that confidence, you know, helps you have the courage to ask the questions, to ask for the promotion, to apply for that job. And it truly just is something that starts to improve your life in all areas. And my time as the training manager really, you know, cemented for me the importance of us as leaders being sure to invest in our associates and encourage that development. Again, aside from the basic ideas that, of course, you know, you're building your knowledge and you potentially will get degrees or certifications or whatever you're pursuing, but also that's how associates start to buy into the company and to you as a leader. It's showing associates that we care and that we're invested in them. And that just has rippling effects on the organization, on your team, and that to me is truly priceless. So in general, you know, self-development is just, it's imperative, and it has sounding effects that, you know, you really could never measure.
Yeah, thank you. Michelle said it a few times here, but just never stop growing, never stop pursuing new knowledge and whether it's personally or professionally. So thank you. I appreciate that. This next question will be for all of you. Andrea, if you don't mind starting us off, I'll kick it right back to you. So what are 2 or 3 main actions that you take to prepare for your workday?
To prepare for my workday, okay. So for me, this is something I started recently. So like in the last couple of years, I don't know if anyone is a Jay Shetty fan. I have to give him credit because I'm not going to pretend to be this profound. He is sort of a self-help guru. He's the best. He has a podcast. Check him out if you're interested. And so in one of his books, he suggested that you start your day by setting intentions, writing them down. And it sounded really simple, and I was like, I could do that, because, you know, I read books and things, and they tell you how to change your life. I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to actually do that. But this sounded really simple. So I started to do that every morning in my planner, sometimes the night before. And there's simple things, little things. For my team, it could be, you know, maybe something has happened that I want to, you know, circle back with them on and make sure they know that I'm thinking about them and that I care. Maybe, you know, the energy has been a little bit off, and I want to make sure that I do something to promote, you know, encouragement and positivity, or maybe it's writing a thank you card. So for me, setting my intentions for the day really helps me to capture what we would say like our little things, but they can mean a lot to our associates and to the people that we work with. And when you're busy, it's really easy for those things to slip through the cracks. I mean, we're all running around, you know, we call them fires for a reason. And those things we tend to forget. So for me, setting my intentions not only helps me remember those things, but also helps me focus for the day. And I so loved what Allison said earlier in regards to, you know, you get to decide every single day your attitude and how you're going to respond to everything. And when you really take a moment to focus on your intentions, that sort of allows you to do that, which is my second answer. Sort of in the same realm, I make sure I make time for myself every single day. I am not yet a mom or grandma, but still I feel like I wear so many hats already, and people are always needing something from me, if it's my associates, our customers, my peers, my boss, whatever it is. I'm getting calls, texts, emails, just like everyone else. I am. And I had to learn the hard way that you truly can't pour from an empty cup. And so I have to make sure I'm making time for myself. And that's intentional time, not like brushing your teeth or getting ready, like actual time for yourself to reflect and really make sure you're ready to, you know, go about your day.
Yeah, I love that. As a supervisor too, I'm actually stealing your first action item. We can get so busy throughout our day and forget the little things. So that's such a good tip. Michelle, how about you? What are 2 or 3 main actions that you do to prepare for your day?
Yeah, I've learned over time there's an entire science around how you approach what I would call your most valuable asset, which is just you and your time and energy and the best of you and where you put it. So, you know, for me, I think I start well ahead of the day or the week, and I've learned that over time how important that is. I start with, you know, what's most important, and make sure that my time is spent on the highest priority items that where I make the biggest impact, right? And this includes me knowing what drains me versus what fills me. Drea talked about filling her cup. This can be how you intentionally schedule things according to when you're at your best, or, you know, in a certain space, or what drains you, and make sure you're spreading out the things that drain you, or depending on your role or where you lean into, how you approach the things that drain you. We all have them. We all have things that fill our cups and things that drain us, and they're all very different. And knowing that is, you can do an energy audit on your calendar if you want to go back a couple weeks and be like, these are the things where I was alive based on this work, and here are the things that just like, when I ended. And we all have them. And I find in coaching leaders, a lot of people will often schedule all the things that drain them in one day, and then they're like, why am I so tired at night and feel like that, right? So that's one step. And then I really also like to focus, like Drea said a bit, but a little intentionally, if you will, on the blessings of life each day. I absolutely start each day intentionally with some gratitude, thankfulness, and I take time, and I have a certain thing that I do, but however you feel that day to start to help your own mindset really kicks off the rest of your day. And I had a chance, I'd say, to meet, there was a faculty director, professor over the summer I met, and his name is Baba Shiv at Stanford, and he taught me some game changers about, from like a neuroscience of your own understanding of yourself and how to manage yourself, of our bodies, and ways to figure out optimizing you. And it really taught me a lot about how I start my day and what I do during the day to make sure that my cortisol levels stay low as long as possible, which is stress, and my serotonin levels, I can keep them up, in the way to do that, and the best way is to consider that naturally, and just understanding my own rhythms. And one example that I like to share with people, the worst thing anyone can do is to wake up and look at your phone. Worst thing you can do ever. Never do that. It raises your cortisol levels instantly, your serotonin levels go down, and you only have so much every day. So little things like that can just help you feel stronger throughout the day. And always start by like walking or just moving 15 minutes at the beginning of your day. Thankfulness, those kinds of things will just raise your ability to have serotonin that carries you through the rest of the day, to be able to help you process stress, help you with tackling the things ahead of you. So those are all kind of game changers for me.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of the energy audit thing before. That's a new concept to me. I hope I'm not alone there. But I feel like that goes right back to like being your authentic self. I love the idea of just making sure when you're at your best energy, you're tackling the most important things. I love that. Thank you. And then Allison, what are some things that you do to prepare for your day?
So I thought about approaching this in just a task way, because I thought about, instead of, and I just want to make sure, can you guys hear me? It looks like everybody froze.
We can hear you. Your face froze, but we can hear you.
Okay. Well, and I really thought about Sundays for me. Sundays are a day of prep. So everything for me is about to ensure that that day is set up, whether it's that the night before or Sundays. Is it figuring out what we have going on? What are we doing for dinner for the week? What's our family calendar? And Sundays are that day for us. And then when I think about the night before to get ready for the next day, one of the most important things for me is to make sure that that coffee pot is set for first thing in the morning. And then knowing that the first thing that I can do when I wake up is have that nice hot cup of coffee. I sit with my 5-year-old. I watch the news for about 10 minutes. Michelle, I'll take that advice about not looking at my phone, but it's my most precious couple of minutes with him in the morning to have that early cup of coffee. And he's definitely our earliest riser. But thinking about what I can always do to prep, even if that's for a little bit of time before a meeting, am I ready for it? Instead of just going through the day and letting my calendar drive me, which I can be a product of often. And so being very intentional of setting things up on the weekend to help me get ready for the week, whether that's personally, professionally, and doing little things at night so that my day is going to start off on the right foot.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing there too. The next, we'll switch gears a little bit. This is actually for you, Allison, as well. You've completed several executive leadership programs. Can you talk about some of the most meaningful knowledge that you gained from those experiences, how that might have helped in your career development? What are some of your biggest takeaways from those?
So I've been fortunate enough to be a part of several of the programs that are within GEICO that have been offered. And I'll say that you're surrounded by people who really want to be there. I think we've all been in a course before where it's just a prerequisite or everybody had to take it. But with these executive leadership programs, everybody is really there to get the most out of it. And oftentimes, what I've found that I've learned the most is less about the content and more about the networking opportunity and developing the relationships that I've been able to form within those programs. And sometimes there are people within GEICO and sometimes they're outside of GEICO. And I'll say, if I had to pick one thing besides the networking that really has impacted me, it's that it's created a space for me to think that all too often, whether it's your home life or work, we're all going a million miles a minute. And all of a sudden, when somebody says, oh, let's talk about this and why we do that. And I've had so many aha moments during those times because I've given myself space to reflect and think about things and be open to others' ideas. And that for me has really been kind of a game changer. And I will tell you, anytime one is offered, I'm signing up for one. I love them, and I think that nobody else is going to invest in yourself more than you. So taking advantage of any time that I'm able to do that, I always am the first one to sign up.
Yeah, so true. Thank you. And then just moving into the next, Michelle, it looked like you maybe wanted to add something. Did you have something to add there? Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure. This will be for all of you too. Allison, if you don't mind me kicking it back to you one more time, you can kick us off on this one too. Can you share with us your proudest moment of your career? What made it special? Maybe it was in one of those programs we were just discussing, but what's your proudest moment?
This was hard for me to answer. I have to say, I had to really think about it. I've had a lot of, whether it was a competition or something that my team, it was really hard for me to think about what was I proud of. I was thinking of so many of the things that I was proud of other people for. And it made me think about when I was promoted to auto damage director. So there's only 2 of us that are women in this role today. And I remember first joining auto damage and thinking, I want to be a director because there isn't a woman director and they need a female director in that role. And so I think for me, I'm very proud. I'm proud of the accomplishments, and it wasn't always me that was the driver of that. I had other people throughout my career who helped me achieve it, helped me see why my strengths were needed, sometimes when I didn't even know that. So I'd say that certainly was something that stood out if I had to pick something.
Yeah, I love that. Congratulations. I know it's been a minute, but congratulations anyways. I think it's such a woman thing, right? To like not want to celebrate our own accomplishments, but the first thing that comes to mind is always someone else's. So totally relatable there too. Michelle, what about you? What's your proudest moment?
This is a hard one too. Like Alice, I was in memory lanes remembering when we were celebrating Allison's promotion, and Stephanie Edwards, the other female physical damage director, who also is an incredible leader and person and trailblazer, as I call it. I think my most proud times are when I get to celebrate a team member that directly or indirectly reports to me or mentoring or whatever, and they reach something they never thought was possible, and it happens repeatedly and in patterns, meaning because my math nerdness, right? So whenever someone that I've had the chance to serve says, oh my gosh, I was selected, and it happens and they're surprised by it, that's my proudest moment. And there's one time when I was a supervisor, like Katie, like you, and Dre, I'm thinking back to your comments about being a supervisor. And I remember, I think it was 1999, and not to be like old, but I had a service unit in Lakeland actually, and I was a service supervisor. And I think we had a time where I had a team, I don't know, 12 or 13 associates. And in one day, I think 8 of them got promoted and selected in one selection, and half of them never would have even raised their hand. So the fact that they raised their hand and that they were picked, and then they celebrated and they went on to be successful, those are the moments that I cherish and that remind me that I go back to and remind me of what people are capable of and to never give up.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Andrea, what about you? What are you most proud of?
I also think this was a very difficult question to answer. And my career is nowhere near as long as theirs, but it was a struggle. But one thing recently stuck out for me, and it was a cool moment, so I'm going with that one. I managed GEICO's scholarship program, something I kept from being the training manager, if you're wondering how that fits into retirement. And I got a call from an associate who received the check for their son who was selected, but she advised me that he had passed away that summer, which 2 stories of people passing away, I'm sorry, but I guess they were really impactful for me. Right. She wanted to transfer the scholarship over to her daughter, which is just not possible. If you ask my boss and probably my team, I'm definitely known for not ever taking no as an answer. So I knew the answer was no, but I kept pressing and trying to figure out what we could do with that scholarship money. And for anyone who knows Seth Engel, he is one of our SVP senior vice presidents, and he manages scholarship. And so I called Seth and talked to him, and he's like, Dre, I guess we could donate it to something that means something to the family. So we'll donate that amount. Anyway, long story short, or long story long, ended up donating to a skate park that the family was building in the son's name, and we had no idea that they had applied for a grant from their city. And so our donation put them over the grant requirement, and so then they got an additional $300,000 from the city. And it just was a really proud moment for me, because sometimes, you know, it's a thankless job sometimes what we do, you know. And it was just a little thing. Our donation was nowhere near $300,000, but it was a little thing that I just didn't want to give up on, and thankfully had the support of leadership on, and it really went on to make a really big impact to that family and to that community. So definitely very proud of that.
I think that's amazing. I would be super proud of that too. I'm sure that the family thanked you for being persistent, but that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that too. So Michelle, I'm switching gears a little bit backwards here, but just moving into a different a topic we've touched on. I'm going back to how do you give back to other women and support them through their career journeys? I know Allison mentions you know, some special places the two of you had. Andrea had a very special memory too. But how do you give back and support other women?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I actually had to ask a few people to help me reflect on this one. That may seem odd because it's something I just do, but I didn't know how to describe it. So if you're not clear on how to describe what your default actions are in an area, just look to those who are closest to you to tell you, because they will. I have an assistant. She's amazing. She sees all the good and all the bad, at least the last 5 years or so. And she said, you know, Michelle, that's easy. You pull people forward and act as a sponsor. And what she said to me is, you encounter someone and you help them. And if you aren't the right one to help them, you connect them to those who can, like lending your credibility. And I may say, you know, I'm not the right person, but I think I know someone who can help you, and pull them forward, highlight them, their work to support, or maybe help connect them to an opportunity or other types of resources or help. So I think Holly, my assistant, thank you. I think she captured the facts that I see people, including women at GEICO, as human beings first. I do that, and I aspire to empower them to set and achieve higher goals than they've ever thought they could achieve for themselves or imagine. And like I said earlier, I think I've been lucky to have so many incredible mentors at GEICO who have shown me what it takes to lead others with empathy. And it's really this mindset that I get to bring to work every day in helping other women and other associates.
Thank you. I love that. Yeah, a lot of people, if you're not kind of familiar with the difference between a mentor and a sponsor, definitely do a little digging there. I appreciate that you're sponsoring others too. So I think last question here, we'll double check the comments here in a minute, but this is for each of you again. Just, you know, maybe a quick thought on it. What's your best advice for maintaining a healthy work-life integration? Because balance is a fallacy, right? So Andrea, why don't you start us off? Healthy work-life integration.
I think mine is pretty simple. It's hard though, and that's leaving work at work. So I won't lie and say that I'm good at working just, you know, 8 to 4:30. That again would be a lie. But when I do decide that I'm, you know, not working anymore, then I really am intentional about leaving work at work. And that means not dwelling on the things that frustrated me. I know it's so, you know, tempting to just go home and, you know, vent, but that truly is not respecting boundaries. And that is bringing that negativity and that, you know, into your personal life. And for me, finding balance, and it's an everyday thing. But for me, it's really, truly just leaving work at work and being present and intentional in my personal life and with my loved ones. So yeah, leaving work at work.
Awesome. Thank you. So much more difficult in the work from home environment, right? Your computer's like right there, your email's right there. Totally get it. Allison, what about you?
So I had read something once, and it was something that Jeff Bezos had said, that it's work and life are actually a circle. And I love that thought because it is, you're right when you mentioned it's a fallacy about balance, because you'll kind of set yourself up for failure. And I love the idea of it just being a healthy circle. Sometimes one side's going to be bigger than the other. And then other days it's the other way around. And I think it's really important to allow that type of freedom. I know for me, it's being a mother is incredibly special to me, and I don't want to miss certain things, but my career is also very special to me as well. And those around me know that oftentimes I can remember being a CSR manager, and it was probably 6 months in, and they were like, Allison, every day you say you want to leave because you have to go pick up the kids, and then your husband picks them up every day. Have you ever thought about just saying it's okay that you're not going to pick up your kids? And I was like, well, no, tomorrow I'm going to get them. And of course, then something would happen. So I'd say part of that balance also includes having a support structure for what that is. And I'm very lucky. I have an amazing husband that will often pick up the slack at home when I need him to. And I hope that I can be that same balance for him when he has to have time at work. And the other advantage is we both work for GEICO. And so there's a shared understanding of the demands of the job, and what we get out of it, I think is the most amazing experience for us. And I hope my kids can see that too.
Yeah, I love that. I giggled because I had my very first manager, my favorite manager ever. For those of you in GEICO, Courtney Fantasky, she's amazing. She was the exact same way, so you gave me a good giggle. Michelle, what about you?
Yeah, I think they both said it well, but work and school, career, they can be incredibly fulfilling. Your company, your degree, your current job does not go home with you and hug you. You have to remember to ask yourself, who are you doing this best work for and why? And just, I think Drea said it earlier, when you are pouring out of a cup, remember when you're pouring that out to others, your cup needs to have something flowing in, because you can't pour out of an empty cup. So, really being intentional about how are you filling your cup. And you may need to hit pause right now and literally write that down as a takeaway question for you to think about. How am I filling my cup? And if you can't answer it yet, that's a place to do some work. I've had a lot of times where I've done this well. I've had a lot of times where I've been the poorest example, and both are okay. Give yourself some grace and recognize that we all have an individual journey there. And there are times when I need to reassess healthy boundaries and change some habits, like Drea was talking about. And there are times where I was so passionate about something, an opportunity or project ahead, that I was thinking about it late into the night, and that's okay. And I was inspired. I put a proposal together in like 2 hours, and it happened to be in the evening, right? And there's times when my daughter, I remember in Fredericksburg, actually, Allison, she was in high school volleyball, and I decided that as a mom, I would never miss a home game. Now, that's a big statement at that time. I told my entire team, they helped me meet that commitment. And my daughter, guess what, has never forgotten that I never missed a home volleyball game for her. So maintaining that balance, or, the fallacy of the balance, but maintaining what's right for you, is to me just about making intentional choices at different seasons that are just right for you. And a huge part of this is just keeping your cup full.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for your thoughts on that. So last question, quick wrap up for us. Just a minute each, because we're coming right up on time. I want to make sure we're respectful of that. Michelle, if you don't mind kicking us off with this one, what would you like to leave with the attendees today? What would you like their biggest takeaway to be?
You are a unicorn. You are a unicorn. You are uniquely gifted and talented, sparkly or not. Your talents are just yours. And own it, recognize that, and bring the full self to any situation you're encountering, inside of work, at school, to any circle that you are in and that gets the privilege of knowing you. And at the same time, just recognize it's okay to have places to do some real work. And hopefully today, from both Drea, Allison, Katie, everybody's got some really great tips. I've got notes. I hope you do too. And we're all here for you. And thank you for spending your time with us today.
Yeah, it's been such a good session. Andrea, how about you? What would you like to leave the audience with today?
I'm going to repeat what I said in the beginning, which is hopefully confirmation to keep going. And hopefully the stories and everything that these amazing leaders have shared with Allison, Michelle, all of our stories are so different, and all of our backgrounds are different, and there's no one path to success or to where you want to be. So hopefully, again, confirmation to keep going. And one of my favorite sayings is, a winner is just a loser who never gave up. So just keep going.
I love that. Allison, how about you?
I'm going to write that down. That is a wonderful saying. I just say the same thing, what I said in the beginning, that every day we get to decide what we want to do, what you want to do with your career, what you want to do personally. And it doesn't have to be this huge life-changing moment that you do. Sometimes it's just one little decision. I'm going to get up an extra 15 minutes so I'm prepped for the day. Or I'm going to be extra kind to that person because I know they're going through a hard time and I'm just going to listen. Those are things and those are choices that we get to make every day. And it's just as easy to forget that. and to be task oriented and not remember that we're all people and we're all here to kind of do this together and support each other. And I'd say that's especially important for women, but it's important for all of us to do that together as a team to kind of be the very best that we can be.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, ladies, for your participation and everything, all of the great advice that you've given. Courtney, I think I'll toss it back to you to wrap us up for the event, but thanks again, ladies.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, Allison, so much for these amazing stories of inspiration for our members. We know that the NSCS community, as well as some of the GEICO community that is joining us today, are grateful to have this opportunity to hear about each and every one of your unique journeys of authenticity, leadership, and success, and even more learning from each of you through your inspiring stories. So thank you so much for sharing them with our community. Thank you to all of our attendants, or all of our attendees that have joined us today. We are grateful that you all are here and taking advantage of your memberships. We want to remind you that we did record this ScholarCast, and we'll have the recording to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. As mentioned in the beginning, if you have any follow-up questions that might pop up as soon as we hit end, go ahead and contact the NSCS Member Success Team at nscs@nscs.org, as well as the links, or excuse me, the handouts and the handout section. If you haven't had an opportunity yet to go ahead and download those, go ahead. If you would like to reach out to the Member Success Team, they can also provide those handouts to you. Ladies, thank you again. We are grateful for each and every one of you to share your wonderful experiences, and thank you for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.